Welcome to the Day After podcast and our weekly show, PIXAR Sunday, where we are going step by step through the 21 Pixar films we haven't seen, from 1995's Toy Story all the way to 2020's onward. Now today is episode 2, where we're tackling 1998's A Bug's Life, directed by John Lasseter. How you feeling?
So I watched this movie a lot when I was a kid. I want to say I even think I saw it in theaters. I have a lot of memories of this just because I was the perfect age when this movie came out. The main character, Dot, who is she played by?
Dot is played by Hannah. Oh my God, we'll get into that in a second.
No. Give me the actress's name.
Dot is played by Hayden Panettiere of Nashville and Heroes fame in her second ever role at the age of 9.
So the first time I saw this movie, I was Dot's age. Like, I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And I freaking had snow boots with her face on them. This movie hit me at the perfect age, more so than Toy Story, because I wasn't quite sure what a movie was yet. And I spent the whole watch time with John, like, I don't know, defending it from nobody.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. The history behind this is it's much more complex than the original Toy Story, but here we go. This movie was directed by John Lasseter also, and it's being known slightly into production of a giant feud. On one side, John Lasseter and Steve Jobs, who was the primary shareholder at the time. And on the other side, Jeffrey Katzenberger, who would, as a result of this movie and his creation of a suspiciously similar movie called Ants with Woody Allen, go on to develop DreamWorks, for which Ants would be their first movie.
Yes.
Now, DreamWorks is known for some good movies, Shrek and the like.
It's known for some shitty movies also.
But Ants is not one of those movies, in my opinion. But these movies Ants came out first. Bug's Life came out 9 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very close together.
And everybody was kind of given the whole production crew of both movies the stink eye, because those two movies were so similar and they had very, very similar people working on it.
And I wonder, I should have looked up the box office receipts for these two movies, because I think that some of them did much better than...
Yeah.
I think that, culturally, at least, in terms of long-term, respect, I think that A Bug's Life came out ahead.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the history, the politics is not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the movie. I find it that this movie kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit unfairly, just because it's old and it kind of looks odd, and that it has a semi-unlikable protagonist.
Now, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I feel like A Bug's Life, and you nailed it on the head, that we are defending this movie from no one, because even I had a lukewarm memory of this movie that I literally have not watched in almost 2 decades. That being said, it's very much the middle child of early Pixar, because it is not joking, literally sandwiched between Toy Stories 1 and 2.
Well, and you have Monsters, Inc. on one side of that, don't you?
No, it's Toy Story, Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, and then Monsters, Inc.
Oh, Monsters, Inc. came after. Okay, sorry. Yeah,
so,
I had my timeline wrong.
And it gets swept under the rug very much so, and we have to, I feel like, our compliments, while also well-earned, it does feel, even though while we're giving them, like we're trying to make up for lost criticism.
And we're not. I don't feel like anybody, and I would have to do more research on this, I don't feel like anybody is attacking this movie like vehemently. I don't feel like this is not a Cars 2 movie.
No, certainly not. Jesus. I did get a little suspect when I saw 92 on Rotten Tomatoes, but I was worried. Okay, sometimes they go back at old movies that existed before Rotten Tomatoes and give them good scores retroactively. I think it stands. I think it's a very serviceable movie.
Yeah, I think it's a very solid movie. Is it as good as Toy Story? No,
not really.
But it's got a solid story. It's got it's well done. It's well written. Well written. Okay, so I have this issue with small world movies, and what I mean by that is that movies where you're taken down to the size of like a bug or an ant, or you accidentally shrink yourself with a script written shrinking machine that only Disney could write. Honey, we shrunk ourselves.
Acknowledged.
And I don't like those scenes, because the only joke you can make is, isn't grass big? Isn't cans big? This movie has a legit issue. It has a legit problem that needs to be solved, and it has issues and things that have to be addressed that only come into play when you are a bug.
Well, what I'm gonna say is gonna sound like a neg. In Hollywood, there's something called punching up the script, which after the script is written, go through it and make some of the jokes funnier, make sure they hit harder, and it doesn't feel like these jokes were punched up. It feels like they were written and they're allowed to come and then go. But I feel like additional punchiness would have resulted in jokes that really feel kind of forced, like, oh, isn't they're using bottle caps as tables, whoa. Like, they don't do that. They just allow the visual gags to be there.
Yeah, fun fact, speaking of visual gags, there's a mosquito in one of the bars that Flick goes to that is voiced by John Lasseter, the director.
That is some shit he would do.
So, like, I feel like, I feel this weird need to defend this movie, and I think I have a connection to it that most people don't, simply because that I had the eyes of a white, innocent child when I saw it.
In this episode of Stuff You Didn't Know, this is based on a lunchtime discussion held by John Lasseter and a couple of the other writers. This lunch discussion would become very famous because it is the same lunch date that they had that would go on to spawn the conceits of Toy Story 2, Monsters Incorporated, and Finding Nemo.
Okay.
They weren't made in earnest, but that's where the idea started. They were pitching ideas and how to make it. This is based on an Aesop's fable, The Ant and the Grasshopper, which is in something called, it's number 373 in something called the Perry Index, which I did not find, which is a cataloging of every fable attributed to Aesop.
Oh, okay.
Who lived in ancient Greece.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm aware of Aesop's fable.
And it was certainly workshopped, because in The Ant and the Grasshopper, the ants are getting food for 6 months, and then the grasshopper's like, can I have some? No, you were dicking around all summer.
Yeah, all you do is sit there and chirp.
And what they said was, what if the grasshopper wasn't a fool and was a wonderful villain played by Kevin Spacey?
Yes, and oh my fucking god, this is, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, like, controversial opinion, this is one of my absolute favorite Pixar villains ever.
Well,
I recognize I'm seeing this through rose-tinted glasses, but that scene where you go to the little grasshopper sombrero and you get to see what Hopper is dealing with and his motivation and the he's actually a fucking diabolical genius.
He's like Nazi level almost.
And he's a grasshopper.
What I get is, yeah, okay. We talked about how star power, the idea of selling a movie based on star power, wasn't in full force yet. I don't think that it really took off until Shrek. Well, it's a gradient, right?
Yeah.
Now, you can cast Kevin Spacey all you want, but he can only act what you give him, and some of the speeches that he gives him, especially like movie affirming speeches,
yes,
are nailed. Go ahead.
One of my absolutely favorite points in this movie is when Hopper himself delivers the message of the movie, but he does it with a villain twist. So like, the message of this movie is like, once the ants band together, they can overcome pretty much anything. Grasshoppers, rain, whatever it is. They don't need this help with this big muscle-bound jock circus hams.
And I love the foil between Flick's metaphor about the rock and the seed, and his later villain, and Hopper's later villainous bit about the seed and ripping it off and they overtake you. That is a cool foil between why these two characters are doing different things. And
just imagine that for a second. Imagine like your favorite like run-of-the-mill whatever kids movie that you grew up with and loving. Imagine if the villain delivered the main message. And Hopper like straight up tells his clan like, the second the ants figure out that they can overpower us at any time, there goes our way of life.
Like, imagine if, not Mufasa, Scar. Imagine if Scar was like, yeah, sometimes you can't like rule like that.
I don't think a Lion King is a good parallel.
Imagine if some villain, if Dr. Facilier had legitimate points in Princess and the Frog.
Right, yeah, or just any kids movie. We don't have to make an example for you.
No, we don't. But
yeah, to have that in this movie, like, it made me really, even as a kid, appreciate Hopper and just how fucking devious he was.
Not even to mention, this is a fucking scary movie.
Yeah, it is. Oh my god, you up so many stakes. With this movie that you don't really see in Toy Story, because you're out in this this island that looks huge and then it zooms out and you realize it's only like a tiny little spit.
Now I think I understand that when they made Toy Story they were getting their footing, because making a feature-length thing with stuff that moved well and flowed well was tough, so that they had like a homespun toy setting. Now that they're insects, we can get a little crazier. We can have a bird on fire.
Oh, and the sheer amount of things on screen, the sheer amount of things that move and act, and the facial expressions that they do. Like last time when we talked about Toy Story, we talked about how we didn't have the budget to animate Andy's dad. There's like 200 fucking of these little fuckers on screen.
And certainly they chose the ants because they have slick, simple surfaces. but as a result of being slicker surfaces, you could have more lower detail things on screen.
Yeah, and they're not hard to animate, I don't think, and so it's easier to fit more things on screen.
It helps that bugs have very rigid joints, which is nice.
Yeah, and we're used to seeing them move in a very janky way.
This is the first PIXAR death, if you're counting. Hopper getting eaten by a baby bird.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was hardcore shit.
Yeah, and so Toy Story, in my opinion, didn't really have a villain. Like, Sid was an asshole.
That was one of the pro points of that, yeah.
Yeah, Sid was an asshole, but he wasn't, like, he wasn't directly trying to stop Woody and Buzz from going home because he hated them. Hopper it's a unique choice to go with a villain like this. It's more Disney centered than what I normally picture as
person,
PIXAR.
not environment.
Yeah. Okay. But Gull, he's done so well, and I know part of that is with Kevin Spacey, and part of that is just the script is awesome.
Yeah.
Shall we go through the mainstays?
Welcome. Welcome to the mainstays. We're dropping the striped ball because we found out it's not really in every movie. Most of them, not all of them. A113 is here. I'll actually get a screen grab this time. As the shot before you see Ant City,
It's
city,
just Bug City.
Bug City in its glory. The shot before, he's passing by a cereal box with the code A113 on it. There you go.
Yeah, and some other numbers.
The Pizza Planet truck is in the best trailer joke I've ever seen.
Honestly, one of the best jokes in the movie, if we're honest.
As it cuts to just a throwaway gag of two bugs about to get zapped by a thing, and somebody has parked their Pizza Planet truck outside by the trailer, which is nice.
Yeah.
John, I forgot his name.
Ratzenberger?
John Ratzenberger.
How did you forget our boy's name?
There's so many Bergs and burgers. I apologize. And he plays P.T. Flea. By the way, great pun. Holy cow.
P.T. Flea.
You do get older and appreciate all of these jokes. And I'm starting to feel like when I watched this, I didn't know what a movie was because I remember very vividly the first 20 minutes, which is perfect nap time.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the ending quite so much. But there they are. The cast is a very eclectic mix. We talked about Phyllis Diller is the queen, which is really cool.
Yes.
I was like, where do I know you? Why do I love you? Why are you dead? Why am I sad? David Hyde Pierce is Slim. People that grew up around my age, you may better know him as Drix from Osmosis Jones.
If you had the unfortunate circumstance of watching that movie when you were a kid.
If you have the unfortunate circumstance of... No, you're correct. Ashley Tisdale plays the leader of the Blueberry Scouts.
Yeah, she plays this little kid who has like two throwaway lines. She plays one of Dot's friends, the leader of this sub for a Girl Scout troop.
Yep.
And I was just kind of amazed to see her on the cast list.
There's so many weird faces here where this is almost their first role.
Yeah.
Rosie the Spider is voiced by Bonnie Hunt, who you may know her from different stuff. I know her as the female lead opposite Robin Williams from Jumanji.
Yeah, and I remember seeing Bonnie Hunt in a lot of different things.
Yeah. The sad, and I hate to bring this down, and then we're gonna two more. Dim, the giant, cool-looking beetle.
I think he's a rhinoceros beetle.
Yeah, he is voiced by Brad Garrett of Everybody Loves Raymond fame.
Oh, there you go.
You may know him as Tank from the equally successful movie and extremely goofy movie. And upsettingly, Heimlich, who is, I guess, every kid's favorite character.
I don't know. I fucking love Heimlich. I love
he's
the Ladybug
certainly
too.
Supposed to be the comic relief. He's voiced by a man named Joe Rampt, who is also the voice of Wheezy in Toy Story 2.
Oh, okay.
And Jacques the Shrimp from Finding Nemo.
Oh, nice.
In 2005, his car hit a guardrail with some people in it and fell 130 feet into the Navarro River in California.
Why are you going to make me sad, John?
Because nature's sad.
But yeah, okay, so going into final thoughts here, I strongly urge, more so than Toy Story, if you haven't seen this movie in a while, please give it another shot. I worry that it's forgettable simply because of what it's surrounded by. In comparison to like Disney and Pixar, is it one of the greatest things ever? No. In comparison to a lot of kids' films, especially at its time, it's pretty good.
Was it great? No. Does it deserve to get creatively shit on?
No,
I don't think so. It's really well done, especially with some of the shot of Hopper in front of the fire as he approaches to perform his villain kill.
Yeah.
That was dope, and it's really well textured and everything. And even the first shot is a rack focus in the field of grass as they're trying to find leaves.
Yeah. And the stakes of this movie are just like on point. Like as a kid, you really feel like, holy shit, this is a big fucking deal. And that's another thing I appreciate about Pixar. I told John when we started this. They're they have kids, they never star kids.
That is, and I'm really glad that you brought that up. That's something I would never have thought of. There are kids, and the earliest thing I can think of where a kid is the main character is Coco.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just thinking about Coco because it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I can't think of another.
Because, like, you have Finding Nemo. Is Nemo there? Yes, but the story is about Marlin. Toy Story 2, is Andy there? Yes, but the story is about Woody and Buzz, who, like, maturity-wise and acting-wise, are adults.
They really are. And, are you done?
Yeah.
One thing that because you enjoy a movie, you kind of got to gripe. I don't think that the idea of him being an inventor, and then later they learn to appreciate him, and then in the end scene, they're all using his gadget.
Yeah, the nerd's redemption thing doesn't do it for me.
No, it didn't. But that didn't have oh my god, the best fucking 3-act payoff of all time. In the first act, Flick gives Dot a rock and says, pretend it's a seed. And they have this whole back and forth about the seed. And then in the convince us to go back and help scene, Dot gives him back a rock and goes, pretend it's a seed.
Yeah, right after the Olive's Lost
and
moment.
The other circus characters are like, I don't know, maybe it's an ant thing. And then they go to the final act. And then in the denouement, they're like, by the way, we have this amazing gift for you.
And they hand her a rock.
And the pure uninformed glee of all of the circus animals go, yeah, we fucking did it.
Yes, we're culturally sensitive.
Yeah. That was so funny and one of the best payoffs in the entire movie. But thank you for joining us on A Bug's Life, which is why I enjoy going through 21 movies, because these things fall through the cracks.
Yes.
Pun intended. And I want these. So join us in 1 week for Toy Story 2. Nice safe bet before more chaos.
Yes.
The fucking rock thing.
I fucking love Dot, man.
Get her on some shoes. Make it happen.